I have been a fan of Bethesda RPGs ever since I was a kid. When I was in middle school, my mom had come home from work one day with an interesting Xbox title that she happened to find in the bargain bin at Walmart. I had never heard of it before, but I figured I'd give it a try. I popped it in, 10 minutes later got killed by a mud crab, and I was instantly hooked. And I have been ever since. Since then, I've played every mainline Bethesda RPG, and much like a lot of other people out there, Starfield is one of my most anticipated game of the last few years. While I think the Starfield controller and headset are definitely cool little accessories, I was kind of bummed to find out that there was no Starfield themed Xbox being released. So to celebrate the launch of Starfield, since there is no special edition console, I decided to make my own. Son of a bitch. No, Mom, they just announced it. Because I've been working on this thing forever. Yeah, I love you too. Yeah, kisses. Alright, disappointing announcements aside, for this project I decided to base my aesthetics off of the Starfield Xbox controller. So the first thing to do was to paint the Xbox white. I followed Modded Warfare's excellent teardown videos so that I could gut the Xbox and have it safe for spray painting. Surprisingly, as far as taking the guts out, it wasn't too difficult. You just need to be careful with the ribbon cables and just take things slow. For me, honestly, the hardest part was just getting the stand removed. That thing is on there tight. After everything was out, I then went ahead and started sanding the system down with a very fine sandpaper. This basically allows the paint to adhere to the plastic better. Once it was all sanded down, I covered all the necessary parts with a bunch of painter's tape and began the slow process of turning the black Xbox white. It took a few days of applying thin coats of white, and because the system is black, transitioning from black to white takes a long time and a lot of patience. After painting the Xbox white, I then went ahead and took the sandpaper and just sort of lightly sanded over the Xbox again, just to get rid of that rough paint texture feel. Once that was done, I wanted to add those iconic Starfield colored stripes that you see on both the controller and the headset. So I picked up some spray paint at my local hardware store, trying to find the colors that most matched the controller, at least as close as I could find. And then I began the tricky process of taping down and spraying each individual stripe, basically giving myself a 1/4 inch strip at a time. And while it's not perfect, I think it turned out okay. Initially, when I came up with this idea, I was just gonna paint it white and stop after the colored stripes were done. But I thought it just really needed something a little extra to sort of complete the experience. So I decided to ask my wife for some help to cut out some stencils with her Cricut. She cut out these really cool schematic lines for the front of the Xbox, similar to what you would see on the front of the controller. And then for the side of the Xbox, my wife cut out this really cool big logo of the constellation patch or whatever. For the other side, I just needed to fill up a little bit more space, so I decided to add just some generic stripes, some gray stripes, and it's kind of boring, admittedly, but I just needed something over there, and whatever, it fits the theme. Now, when doing these stencils, this is kind of where I hit my one major snag with this project. While the sides of the Xbox turned out okay, when I tried spraying the lines and the lettering onto the front panel, things just started bleeding everywhere. My wife says it's because I didn't seal those stencils beforehand, but yeah, it just ended up being really messy, and so I had to sand that part down and just reapply white and just cover it up. It was a bummer because that would have been cool to have, but for the sake of the project, I just had to cut my losses and move on. So yeah, once that was done with everything now painted on the Xbox, it was time for the hardest part and the part I was dreading the most. And that's putting everything back together.
Careful, SpongeBob! Careful, SpongeBob! SpongeBob, careful! Careful, SpongeBob! Careful, SpongeBob! Careful, SpongeBob! Careful, SpongeBob!
To be honest, it actually went pretty smoothly putting things back together. I just watched Modded Warfare's video again, and thankfully they were kind enough to put chapters in the video, so I just did everything in reverse order, and things went pretty smoothly. Again, it was more of a battle of patience than anything else. I quickly reassembled the system, but when it was time to put the system fan back, I did want to add something to it first. ExtremeRate is a company we've worked with in the past in other videos, and they have a lot of cool stuff that you can use to customize your favorite systems and controllers. For the Series X, they have an RGB kit that can be used with the system fan. When I saw that the kit didn't require any soldering, I quickly pitched the idea to my contact, and they were kind enough to send me a unit. I'll leave a link in the description down below if you want to check it out for yourself. Applying the kit itself was super easy, and they give you thorough instructions on how to do so. Once the light strip was added, I installed the fan back into the system, put the backing and the base back onto the Xbox. After that, all that was left to do was plug everything back into the Xbox and see if it would turn on. So let's see how everything turned out, shall we? Okay, yeah, so I'm actually pretty darn happy with how this thing turned out. If you know me personally, I'm not crafty in the slightest. Painting, drawing, that sort of stuff, it is not really in my wheelhouse. And if you're paying close enough attention to my paint job, you can definitely tell. But with all things considered, I wanted to make an Xbox that was Starfield themed, and yeah, I did, and I'm pretty happy with the results. It looks pretty cool if you ask me, and that RGB kit on the top of the Xbox just really kind of pulls everything together. Now I just need to decide if I want the color to be Starfield themed or if I want that classic Xbox green. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But yeah, that about does it for this video. Let me know how you think this project turned out, and let me know if something like that official Starfield wrap is something that you might get. Also, in the very unlikely chance that anybody at Bethesda has happened to see this video, hey Bethesda, how's it going? If you happen to have any large black t-shirts or old figures collecting dust that you really need out of the office, hit me up. I will gladly take on the burden of holding on to those for you. Okay, but seriously, thank you again so much for watching the video and checking out the channel. Let us know if you like this type of content or not by hitting that appropriate like or dislike button. And if you want to see how Starfield performs on the Steam Deck, be sure to stay tuned because I'm going to be doing sort of a first impressions performance test for that once Starfield comes out. And yeah, that's enough rambling out of me. Thank you again so much for watching. My name is Blake, and for all things tech, games, to really anything nerdy in between, be sure and subscribe to Digital Cynics. Have a good one, everyone. We'll see you next time.